Hi everybody, it's Cari and I am here at the Painted Cottage in Newlands on Long Road. The Painted Cottage just opened up on Saturday. She's a brand new shop and she is a Granny Bee stockist. So we are here at her beautiful store. She's got all kinds of really beautiful treasures and cute finds in here, and we want to welcome her to the Granny Bees family. And I'm here doing a demo on a mannequin and doing some techniques on this cloth that she's covered in. And I'm showing all the different ways that you can add a couple different colored glazes together, and just to get that aged old look, like make her look kind of antique. And she actually matches perfectly with the style of the store, so it's kind of cool. So be sure to stop in and say hi to Rudy when you come in. And she's got a couple of cute little employees here too that you can say hi to as well. And you can see all the cool painted furniture she has, as well as her fully stocked shelves of Granny Bees. So what we're talking about today is painting this mannequin and making her look old and aged. So I've already done some work on her, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn her around and show you what she looked like when we started. So this is a coat of beach sand, chalk paint, with a coat of armor matte over the paint. So this gave us a really nice base color. It's a neutral and it looks beautiful with the glazes. Okay, so you can see it's nice and ready to go. So what we have been doing is using the aged glaze with a brush, and this is the lighter brown of the two browns that were released. So this is going to give you just a nice light coat of antiquing, whereas this one will be a little bit deeper and darker. And then we also took the white glaze and the black glaze, and we mixed them together, and we made our own beautiful charcoal colored glaze. So you can make different shades of gray depending on how much black and how much white you add. So lesser black, more white, you're going to get a lighter gray color, or you can do a little bit more black, a little less white, and you're going to get something a little bit darker. So you can kind of play around with that and decide what shade of gray you would like. And then once you mix this, store it in a jelly jar or a mayonnaise jar and save it for later, because then you could just pull it out when you're ready to give it something a nice, beautiful gray glaze. Okay? So what we're doing is applying the aged glaze right to the fabric and I'm going to move that gray around in some of those areas where I want to mix and match them together. So you can see where I'm blending the two, and they're blending beautifully. This glaze is a water-based glaze. So when you add in another water-based product to it, it's going to go very well together. And the beauty about it as well is that you could take a rag or a cloth that has a little bit of water on it and just wipe some of that away. So the water works to help blend it a little bit more, but also remove some of that glaze if you want to lighten that up just a bit. So you can see. So you can see how like the two tones work really, really well together. Okay, and we're just having fun adding some of the shading and some of the various colors throughout. And what's cool is if I see something and I just want to kind of fix it or maybe dab it a little bit more, I can. And blend it in even more. So you can just play around with this a little bit and get used to working with it on different surfaces, but you can see that you can easily go back in and work it and lighten it and darken it and just keep playing around with it until you get it exactly the way that you want it. Now she is really getting antiqued and she is looking really, really good. So I'm pretty happy with the results so far. And you know, you can keep adding, keep wiping away. You do have a little bit of a window of opportunity thanks to the armor mat. So that's just helping us give it tooth for it to stick to, and also helping with the blending as well. So there's a few variants that are really helping with the blending and the antique look and what we're going for. Okay, so once we have that all down, we have this beautiful surface, and what we can start doing is adding some stencil designs to her. So like we can add just a little bit of script, and what we can do with that is even add it with a little bit of paint or use a little bit of wax. But what I would like to do first is, because I always wax last, so I think what I would like to do first, I'm going to add a transfer, and then I'm going to stencil around it and just add a little bit of that rich gold wax, I think, to this. All right, so you can add transfers very easily to a textured surface. It's just going to take a little bit more elbow work to get that in there. I'll show you exactly how it's done. So, I think what I want to do is I just want these flowers to drape kind of from her shoulder over. So I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to use that stick that it comes with, and I'm just going to start burnishing that right on. Okay. And it's going to adhere to this fabric perfectly. So, and I like to do sections at a time because we are working on a curved surface. So when you do this, expect just a little bit of cracking and crinkling going on in the image. That's totally normal. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. And I just kind of like to go along from one end to the next to make sure that I get that on there nicely. Okay. So any pieces and parts I see that need a little bit of extra rubbing, can do that. You can see she's starting to go on there. All right. I'm going to lay it back down. I'm working my way from the inside toward the outside. Okay. And you can start to see it removing itself from the top protective layer. And it's going on really, really well. Okay, I'm going to move to this side so I can start going in this direction. Maybe a little bit there. Now it's very important to hold this in place and do not remove it until you've got it on everywhere you want it to be. All right. I'm just going to lightly wrap it down here. Parts and pieces here that don't necessarily need. You can see. Now I'm going to go over it with my fingers and just press it on there really well and make sure it's there. Now she's not perfect, but I don't want her to be. Now, what I can also do, and even though it's already down, I can go over it again with some more of that glaze. And I'm going to go over the top of her. I'm going to take off a little bit of this here. All right. There we go. And you can see that now the transfer is blending in to that surface really nicely. And I'm antiquing it as I go, so it doesn't look as new. There we go. All right. I think that looks, what do you think? I think it looks pretty.
Looks absolutely stunning.
Looks really good. And it doesn't look perfect, but I like it because if it looked too perfect, she wouldn't match the stress and the vintage look that we were going for in the rest of her. So just adding a little bit of that over the transfer makes such a huge difference. And you're going to want to let this dry and just kind of set. And then what you want to do as well is go back and seal it with the armor later is what I would do. Okay, and that's going to give her an extra layer of protection. Now, the next step, you can take any stencil that you have. If you want to add a little bit of something around here just to give it another kind of area of interest. And what I'm going to use are these brand new Gilders pastes. So they come in 6 new colors. These all match the liquid metal paint line beautifully. But they're creamy, they're smooth, and the coverage of color is just stunning. So it's really going to add a lot to your project along the way. So if you're painting anything with any of the liquid metal paints, you have a paste, a gilding paste that's going to match, and it's going to complement it. So let's say you have a table and you've painted the legs in the bronze, the top part in black. You can use a little bit of the bronze Gilders paste around the edges just to enhance the hardware or maybe some of the style of the furniture, and it's going to match beautifully. Okay, so here I'm going to take a little bit of wax on my brush. You can see it's very creamy, very smooth, and I'm going to just make sure I don't have any clumps. So I just like to kind of check it on a piece of paper or on a paper plate. And I like to do this to get it evenly on my brush. Okay. And then I'm going to lay the stencil down. And I want to make sure that's nice and straight. And I'm just going to kind of dab over. Over that, and this just enhances the transfer really beautifully. So a little bit of this will go a long way. So I can add a little bit more down here. All right, and it doesn't look like much, but it's adding just, it's matching this transfer beautifully. And you can carry down or carry it up and keep going with this design and flow down the front of her. So those are a few things that I love to use together, and I hope that you learned something today on how to use our glazes, add a little bit of color